Hi, I'm Jim Frey, James N Frey. I'm the author of How to Write a Damn Good Novel 2 and How to Write a Damn Good Novel, and both from St. Martin's Press. Also from St. Martin's Press, I am the author of The Key, and that's what it's about: how to write damn good fiction using the power of myth. And that's what I'll be talking about today. Mythic structures in fiction and how to use mythic structures for writers. Of course, all my books are for writers, and well, they would make excellent Christmas gifts for non-writers as well. Anyway, so today I'm talking about myth. I made some notes. Myth, when there's live myth and dead myth. And a dead myth is like Pandora's box. Pandora's box explains why there's evil in the world. All the evils in the world were locked up in a box. And Pandora was told, whatever you do, don't open it. But she was curious, and she was willfully disobedient, and she opened the box, and all the evils of the world came out of the box. That is a dead myth. You probably search the whole world, you're not going to find a single person who believes in that myth as they once did. It was, part of the Greek religion. We have a living myth believed by millions of people that there was Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and Eve listened to the serpent, bit the apple, actually pomegranate, mistranslation apple. And it supposedly, anyway, she bit the apple or the pomegranate, and because of that, all the evils in the world were visited upon mankind and the world. A living myth is one which is believed by large numbers of people. I'm a Christian myself, part of my religion. If I were to say that's just a myth, meaning dismissive the way I am of Pandora, I would probably get stoned in the parking lot, the church parking lot. Mythic beliefs are your religion, and the other guy's mythic beliefs are just myths. Funny, huh? How we look at things. Widely held myths, mythic ideas are things like free country. Like, we believe we live in a free country, and we believe other guys' countries are not free. But, try not paying your taxes, you find out how free the country really is. The ISIS Islamic Jihad is fueled by powerful mythic images of Islamic myths, and they are certainly live. They're certainly live myths. Nazism was fueled by this idea of Aryan superiority, which proved to be like totally false when they threw themselves upon the Russians and were made into chop suey. It turns out that the Slavs weren't as stupid and cowardly as Aryans' Nazi myth said they were. Myths control the world, in effect, and mythic ideas. They're sort of deep down religious beliefs, like conservatives believe that a free enterprise system cures all ills and creates the most good for the most people and prosperity and so on. And socialists believe the opposite. This government and community controls and so on that provide prosperity and we're best way to organize ourselves. These are both mythic beliefs because both of them are neither wholly true nor wholly false, but they're deeply held. During election years, the people are out pounding away at trying to convince others of their mythic beliefs. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Mythic beliefs are a good thing. Without them, there would be a lot of despair and hopelessness and chaos. The mythic beliefs of the Iranian-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988, this idea of Allah's holy war, the Shiites against the Sunnis, killed had 2.7 million casualties, and was the third most destructive war of the 20th century. We think of it as sort of a sideshow, but it was an enormously destructive war, killed or maimed thousands and thousands of people, based on myths, right? This Sunnis believe they're right, and the Shia believe they're right. Joseph Campbell created a lot of believers in this mythological approach to storytelling with his book, Hero of a Thousand Faces. And the reason the hero has 1,000 faces is because basically you have the same hero in all the myths. And these mythic heroes continue to today. They are on our TV shows. They are in our movies. They are everywhere. They're in our books, in our fiction, our novels. They're everywhere. They're in the news. The importance of this mythic structure, which Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey, is pretty simple. I mean, it's like the basic structure is quite simple. You have it starts in the world of the everyday, and then it moves into the mythological woods, and then there's the return to the community. And each of these sections, the world of the everyday, the initiation, and the return, come in two pieces. So this is the world of the everyday, or also called separation. Okay, world of the everyday. This is the everyday. And then this at the end is the return to the everyday. And in the middle is the initiation. Now here's the way it works in a simplified form. The hero is living in the world of the everyday, watching TV, smoking dope, hanging out with his friends, shooting pool. Okay? He gets a summons from the government to, this is during the Vietnam War days. Okay, he gets a summons, he gets drafted. He gets his draft notice. This is called the call to adventure. Okay, now he tries to get worm out of it. You know, he pretends he's a conscientious objector, he tries to get a phony certificate from a doctor, he tries to get out of it. That's this part of the world of the everyday. So there's the world of the everyday before the call to adventure, and the world of the everyday after the call to adventure. Well, he can't lick it, so he joins the army. He takes the initiation, joins the army, where he learns the new roles and he's tested. You know, you have to march like this, you have to shoot like this, you have to salute officers, you got to learn the military code and so on. So he's being tested. He's being tested. Some of the tests he fails and some he passes. And it changes him. Then he goes to war. And during the war, he's in a firefight and he gets wounded and almost dies. And after this, he's a new man. This is called the death and rebirth experience. And it comes somewhere more or less in the middle of the initiation. There's a death and rebirth, and he becomes somebody else. Then he gets out of the army, he's crossed another threshold, and he returns home. Now, on the way home, things can happen. The idea is, of this mythic idea, is that the hero brings something back to the community. And what does he bring back? Well, now since he got wounded and was reborn, now he's a committed anti-war activist, right? That's the new him. Now, sometimes that's it. Becomes this activist, he returns home, and sometimes the return is in two sections. The first section is the path home, and the second section is being home. The on the way home section, say he's at the VA hospital and he's got to get his sanity back, and then his return home, he brings something to the community, which is in this case knowledge of the horrors of the war. Okay, that's how basically it works in millions of stories, thousands and thousands of stories, all for centuries upon centuries. I have in the key, I have an overview of the hero's journey, and I'll read it. A myth-based story begins in the world of the hero's common day, where the hero is found already struggling with common day problems. This, when you go to write your myth-based story, is often problematic because it's thought of in terms of this is an idyllic situation, or he's not in any terrible trouble, there's really nothing going on. There should be something going on. He should be struggling, he should be in conflict, he should be already, as soon as the book opens, he's in trouble with something. So there's something he's fighting for. Some kind of conflict. In the world of the common day, the hero will receive a call to adventure, which sooner or later he or she will answer. The call to adventure will require that the hero leave the common day world. Before departing, the hero may get advice from, this is this section here, this second section of the everyday, may get advice from the wise one, secure weapons from an armorer, get magic from a magical helper, be warned not to go by the threshold guardian, have a tearful goodbye with a loved one, and other things. There's sort of a standard list of things that can happen or will happen, and you can choose among them. They don't all have to happen, but usually there's almost always the trip to the wise one. And the threshold guardians are easily swatted aside. That's the strange thing about threshold guardians. They're strangely easily swatted aside. This is like a vet might say to him, "Don't go. It'll destroy your life," or the army's horrible, or an anti-war person stands in his way, but he brushes him aside. See, the hero might be summoned with a draft notice, or the call to adventure may be something that the hero wants to do, and he decides as soon as he gets it, he goes, "Okay, I'm going." Then he gets ready. Okay, the hero crosses the threshold and enters the mythological woods, also called the initiation, where he's going to be initiated. He's going to be changed. Where the hero will learn new rules and be tested. The second part of the mythology Joseph Campbell calls the initiation. During the initiation, the hero will have a death and rebirth experience that will change him or her forevermore. It's very important, the death and rebirth of the hero. As a supreme test during the initiation, the hero will have a showdown with the evil one, where the hero may be killed or may win a prize to bring back to the community as a boon. If the hero is not killed, this begins what Joseph Campbell calls the return, the third part of the hero's journey. The hero will cross another threshold and head home with the prize, whatever the prize might be. In the old days, it was a sack of gold, or the magic, the magic lamp, or the golden fleece, or whatever the hero was after. Another confrontation with the evil one on the way home, and where he's tested further, and may even lose the prize and have to recapture it. Upon returning to the world of the common day, that's this very last section, the hero may be hailed as a hero who brought a valuable prize that will be a boon to the people, or be denounced as a villain if the prize is not honored. That can happen. Poor hero, after he goes through all this, has the death and rebirth, overcomes the evil one a couple of times, and then, voila, he's not honored. Oh well. It's all happened to all of us, right? But you can see how this is, how this works in your everyday life. And I mean, in every person's life, there is these journeys that cause us to change, and we have a death and rebirth. Like, say, you're in the world of the, you're a woman in the world of your everyday, and you get pregnant. You have to learn a new, you have to take advice from the wise men. Will I get an abortion, or will I keep the baby, or what will I do? And then you head into the initiation, where you learn the Lamaze method, you buy baby clothes and so on, and then you have this delivery, which is kind of a death and rebirth, because you are no longer the same person you were. You're now a mother, and now you're tested again, right? You come back to the community as a mother, and you bring the baby, which is the boon. So in everyday life, same like you go to medical school. You're in the world of every day, you get accepted to medical school. You get advice on what to do there. You go there, you're tested, and you come out a doctor. You are transformed. You have a kind of death and rebirth during the process of medical school. You come home bringing to the return back to the community as you're different, and now you've returned to the community bringing the boon, which is your knowledge. This is like a metaphor for people's everyday experiences with the kind of transformations they go through. In fact, some psychologists think this is the value of the myth, is that Carl Jung thought that this myth was the structures of the mind. The structures of the mind, and myth was contained at birth. You don't have to learn to respond to myth. It's in your brain. And the reason it's in your brain is because you need it when time comes for you to transform. You need this hero's journey. The hero's myth needs to be there. So the parts of the hero's journey are already in your head. The qualities of the hero and so on. Okay, so the qualities of the hero. They almost always have courage, or they find courage in the course of the story. They are clever and resourceful. They have a special talent. They're usually some kind of an outlaw. They're good at what they do for a living. They're a protagonist. They're a leader. They have idealism. They are wounded, some psychologically or sometimes physically, and they're sexually potent. Okay, I was going to use a couple of examples here. In one of these other tapes I talked about Cinderella. Oh, Cinderella's in the world of the everyday. She's sleeping in the in the chimney or in the fireplace, and word comes that there's going to be a ball, right? Her sisters, she has to help her sisters get ready for the ball. She dreams of going to the ball, but it's not possible. And then her sisters leave for the ball, and her magical helper arrives, the fairy godmother, to transform her until midnight, right? She crosses the threshold and enters into the mythological woods where she's going to be tested. She has to sort of act like a princess. She's come in this big carriage, she's got footmen and all that stuff, and she's tested. She meets the prince, and she falls in love, which is kind of a death and rebirth, right? It's, here's a girl who's not in love, now she's a girl who is in love, and she's transformed by this kind of death and rebirth experience. And then, time's coming, she has to go home. Here's the return. She returns home, and the first part of the return, she's back being Cinderella again. She's not in her head, but her wicked stepmother is making her toe the line. And then the prince's men come, and voila, and we got the last part of the return, where she's able to bring a boon to the community, which is that the prince, the good prince, can now reproduce with his love. Have children. Now that's the boon that's brought to the community. Oh well, it's ancient, This is the most told story probably ever. There's another story that appears in every culture on earth, Jack and the Beanstalk. It appears even in cultures where there are no beanstalks, like the Eskimos have it. where this poor kid goes up into the clouds and fights the giant and returns with, you know, the magic goose that lays the golden egg and stuff like that. It's this Jack and the Beanstalk stories, very widely used. And in the key, I point out a lot of stories that are very similar around the world, astonishingly similar. And it leads me to believe that Jung had it right, that these stories, these archetypal stories, come out of the subconscious mind, and he called it the collective unconscious. It's everybody's had around the world, everywhere, every human being. I'll give you one more example. This example is not perfect. No, rarely are they perfect to perfectly fit the mold, but somewhat. This example is Michael Corleone in The Godfather. He's the hero of The Godfather. And he has courage. He's clever and resourceful. He has a special talent, which is organization. We see it come out later when he organizes the revenge. He's an outlaw, obviously. He's a criminal, right? Not at first, but he becomes one. And he's good at it. You know, he's good at what he does for a living. He's the protagonist. He takes charge. And he's an idealist. He believes in self-sacrifice. First, he's an idealist when he fights in the Marines for his country, and then he's an idealist when he fights his father's enemies and risks his life. He's wounded in a sense that he's wounded because he's separated in one way, because he gets separated from his family. He has to go to Sicily to hide out. And he's wounded in another way, that his father's he's been pulled out of his family because his father was shot, and you know. And he's, of course, sexually potent. Okay, so he's in the world of the everyday, and he resists his father. You know, he doesn't want to be part of the crime family. And then he gets a call to adventure when his father is shot. And then he commits this act of revenge and shoots a policeman and another criminal. And then he flees. He enters this initiation in Sicily, where he meets this, you know, woman as Angel, and then she's murdered, and he goes into despair, which is kind of a death and rebirth. You see, it's all perfectly there, but you know, the form fits many stories. Many stories are in this form, and then of course in the end he returns and he takes power, and then at the end he brings a boon to his community, which is his criminal gang, and he shoots all the enemies in one great scene, you know, playing Bach and organ music. The great baptism scene. Anyway, this is a very quick look at it, and I go into much greater detail in the key. It's available in this paperback edition. I don't know how much it is, but anyway, it's I think really like this book. All my writing books do well, but anyway, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this tape, and I hope I put my my email address, and if you'd like to drop me an email, be nice. Like to know somebody's watching and somebody's getting something out of these lectures, mini lectures, you know. And I hope maybe to see you at a writers' conference or at a writers' workshop. Anyway, you can sign up to get on my mailing list at jamesnfrey.com, and I'll let you know when I'm having workshops or whatever. And I'm also I'm planning now to do some YouTube interviews with writers that you might enjoy. Starting to line them up now. Unfortunately, I have to go to Europe next month, so I'll be gone for a month. And then when I get back, it'll be the holidays, so I probably won't be doing any writers' workshops. But after the first of the year, oh yeah, I'm going to Australia. Hoping to do a speaking tour of Australia in February. working on it anyway. Okay, well, so long for now. Oops.